a Glenorchy plan. We only need 2 pages, not 100.
Exactly. Just use the things you have, people.
Yeah.
Well, they already exist.
Yeah, that's the whole plan for the next 30 years. Use what you got.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, gang, it's your rough and tumble, ready to roll, MKH Contracting sponsored podcast, The Property Pod. I'm your host, Darren Horn, and I'm joined, as always, by MKH Contracting wearing superstar Patrick Berry.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
And I don't know if John got the memo, but John is also wearing some contracting gear today.
Unfortunately, I didn't have any MKH gear because I'm still waiting for my MKH contracting gear.
Don't worry, it'll be in the mail.
I'm looking forward to getting my MKH contracting gear.
I feel like the dream is you start a podcast and all you want is somebody out there to listen and be like, geez, I wish they'd talk about me on that podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to send them some stuff.
And if you do, MKH contracting, we wear it. All I can think of is that scene from Wayne's World where he's wearing the full Reebok and he's going, it's like people only do things because they get paid. and that's really sad, you know?
Totally agree. But shout out to Pat's good mates at MKH Contracting. They have provided us with some very, very nice attire here. They also
comfy.
do a really good job at moving dirt and, and what they do, but they also make some nice clothes.
Yeah. As it turns out.
So, Pat, tell us all about the sponsorship you've got us.
Oh, well, I've so far hooked us up with one hoodie and one T-shirt. So, we're really rising up here at the Property Pod, so I'm pumped about
I didn't
that.
get anything, but hey, that's a good start as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I just share my merch to be able to get Aaron in some.
The tricky bit is, for everyone out there listening, if you heard last week, Pat mentioned his friends Marcus and Kirsten. They like to listen to us as they go to sleep. So we said, maybe we're boring and we don't keep them interested. But now they're going to be so interested, they won't be able to sleep. They'll be jumping up in bed just thinking like, yes, we're famous for all their listeners.
All 35.
yeah.
No, look, I'll shout out there. Sam last week on the show, all his people out there in his greater world, our show went gangbusters out there.
I'll tell you what, it did. All the way up to Burnie. I saw we had comments from people up there and man, Sam has got some serious connections out there, so exciting to see what he can do.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really good episode with Sam talking on the show last week, and it was really, really well received from a few people reaching out and saying, fix up his hair.
Yeah.
We will work on that as we get deeper into his 414 career.
Well, no doubt he'll be listening to this week's episode while he's up at Derby riding down the trails. Probably have those headphones in and just...
I could just imagine we've got a 6 month, a 6 month hair update.
I want to know how he keeps that hair so good under that helmet of his.
Yeah,
well, can I say, I don't know, he'll listen to this and I want to see if he comes back, but can I say, as I was editing the podcast together, he had this real Harvey Specter kind of look about him. You know, Suits, the TV show. Have you guys watched that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just, if you catch him in the right angle, I was like, there's a little Harvey Specter going on there, so hopefully he's good at wheeling as dealing.
I was going to say Harvey gets the job done, so, fingers crossed he has the same traits.
Indeed. All right, enough banter for this morning. Let's jump straight into some of our show. We're planning to talk a bit about the community of Tasmania at the moment. I thought we'd cover off on the ferry, the latest trial there, talk a little bit about the weather that came on in and did a bit of damage, and then I think talk about Kingston and the pool down there. Ariane Titmus has got us all excited about swimming here in Tassie.
Yeah, and
thought we could cover off on a few of those topics.
And if we've got time too,
no time for whatever topic you bring up.
Well, the real estate specific one around Airbnb. But, we don't have time. What are you going to do?
Here's what it is.
Yeah.
We're construction boys now. This is
that's
actually
right.
called-
We just want to know about diggers and excavators and bobcats.
I can see some waterproofing still stuck on these pants. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, baby. So first thing I wanted to cover off today, we'll get to the real estate stuff, John. Thank you for bringing that up. But
Okay, I like the idea of talking about the weather. That's lovely.
well, no, this is kind of good.
See, that's Sky today, boys. Talk
Well, look,
about
let's jump into this.
Look, we've got to episode 80 something. We've run out of content.
Pat's stuck thinking we're living in the 80s. We're in the 90s, mate.
Yeah, we're in the
This is
90s.
epercode 91.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told you this last week.
Told you we'd never make 100.
Well, we're fast getting there, but we are talking about the weather, so perhaps it's all over. We did get a sponsor on episode 91, though, so shout out.
MKH Contracting.
No, so I want to talk about the new ferry. So it is kind of real estate related because we're talking about the city. We're talking about how they're trying to get people off the roads and they're trying to bring kind kind of a new travel corridor. We've talked about the travel corridor of perhaps a train running from the northern suburbs into the city.
Yeah.
This is a ferry. So this is the ferry system that started up on the 9th of August. It is in a 1-year trial period, and it seems to be going pretty well.
Well,
When they first start these initiatives, everyone wants to have a go, don't they?
yeah, exactly.
It'll be how it goes in 6 months' time.
So you feel like they're just sticky beaking at the moment, and in 6 months. Well, the funny thing is, it's winter, so you'd think this would be the time you wouldn't want to be on the water, but people are out there giving it a go.
Well, bikes have become popular, and I think you can ride for free at the moment if you've got a bike.
Yeah, so I think there's like 15 spaces for bikes on each or on the ferry. It can take up to 107 passengers. It leaves from Bellerive, comes across to Princess Wharf, and I think there's like 15 crossings a day, kind of 7 in the morning, 7 at night, or 8 at night, or something like that.
Is it docking to Brook Street Pier or is it docking elsewhere? Do we know that or we don't?
I don't think I have those details here. If you have been on it and you want to give us a review and let us know how it was and where it does stop, I'd say that would be
It'd
where
be
it would stop.
dangerous if for me, like, because, you got the bar and all the whiskies upstairs. Like, every night get off work, waiting for the ferry to come. In the morning, have a hot toddy on the way through. Like, there's some good stuff in that Brook Street Pier.
Well, it looks like I'll be catching the ferry, and I don't even live on the Eastern Shore.
Well, look, here's the good point of that. If you guys want to do that and partake in that, you've got the ferry. It takes you to where you need to be. You're off the road. You're not drink driving.
Exactly
so
right,
it's another safe way of using some of Hobart's local eateries and hospitality venues. You get to use them. You get
Exactly.
to get on the ferry. If you live in Bellerive Quay, boom, Bob's your uncle.
Well, I think it's good. Like, it's good seeing activity on the water. Like, you've got the Mona ferry going up and down constantly. Then you've got this going across and back constantly.
100%.
It just seems like a no-brainer. Like, if you think about Sydney with the Manly ferries and all that kind of stuff, like that's kind of part of the culture or the.
How good would a Kingston to Hobart be? Like, there's no reason why they can't put something down there in Kingston Beach. Just, I don't know how this what stuff works, but it'd be cool.
And this makes me sound cooler than I am, but even like when I was in Vancouver, they had the big ferry that went across across the river that splits between it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's heaps of people using that constantly.
So I wonder if this is just one of those things where it needs to get into people's minds and be like, oh, this is actually a good idea. I know there was a bit of argument back and forth at the start. So, guys, it's not going to take off that much time, like really in your transit sort of thing. But it is a way of getting cars off the road. It's a way of you're not paying for your parking each day. Like that's a really expensive cost. So if you can, and look, I really like sitting down and doing nothing, not having to concentrate on the traffic and just being like, sweet, I've got 15 minutes to sit here, do my thing, catch up with some people. I think there's bar facilities actually on the ferry.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a little canteen and bar on board.
See, there you go. So it might not be the posh bit of Mona, but it might come one day.
Yeah, and I think any way in which they try, and it's a slow build and for Hobart, but where they can continue to develop these alternative ways of getting to and from home is brilliant. The water, hopefully, train down the road, buses, cars, and everything. And I mean, realistically, if you think about, on an average, with people filling up a car, it's 1 or 2 people. It's rarely that you've got 4 people driving into the city. It's always usually just for yourself.
Yeah.
So you think about every road's taking probably at least 50 cars off the road in every trip.
Well, everyone's complaining about the traffic of a morning these days. Oh, Hobart's not what it used to be. There's too many cars on the road. It's flat stick busy. I'm like, well, there's options out there by the sound of it, and maybe some people need to give it a go.
Here you go,
Yeah,
Pat.
100%.
I've read further into our show notes, and it does board at the Brook Street Pier. So that's where you get on. So you can have your hot toddies, you can have your whiskey, you can do whatever you like.
Get a nice coffee upstairs and from the guys before we walk out the door.
Yeah, exactly. So then it says here that payment is via your Metro Green Card. So it's set up with Metro, the bus service. So if you've got the ability to use that, you've got the ability to get onto the ferry. $350,
$350.
Yeah.
Includes a hot toddy.
$3.50 for an adult, $2.40 for a concession, and $1.80 for child or student. So really quite affordable way if you're taking that out of your weekly budget. If you're doing that a few times over, it's going to be way cheaper than having to find a car park for the whole day. I know car parking prices went up recently in the Hobart City.
I think the only thing that could break it down at this point in the trial, in my thoughts, is that fantastic if you live in Bellerive Quay area. Like, boom, on the ferry, across you go, you're done.
Yeah.
But if you've got to commute to there to catch the ferry, then what's the advantage versus commuting to town via bus or car?
Yeah,
And where do you put your car?
I was going to say
get to the ferry. Like
the one thing seems to be the parking there at Bellerive so you've got to set up a place to park for everybody that is going to catch the ferry, because otherwise it's a bit of a moot point.
I think to make it successful, you need to almost have like a free parking garage there, like that holds a couple of thousand cars that it's exclusively for people that are using the ferry service. So yeah, I think that's where the chink might come as far as it not being as potentially successful as it could be.
Yeah, always. And I guess hopefully maybe in this trial period we'll be see, what the uptake is and the excitement of actually catching it. And then if it, continues to
then
keep those numbers, it was like, okay, now there's a justification.
Like you got Linda's Farm, that'd be another great spot for one. Gasp. What a great spot Gasp would be. They've got all that wasteland out there that could be a giant car park, put a ferry there and just travel into town.
Actually, that's really clever because like you literally get out to that end of Gasp and it feels like, this is the spot I'm meant to jump on a boat at.
Yeah.
It's already got the dock there.
Yeah, and a massive car park there at the MyState Arena Stadium. So.
So like, plus it's got all that big area at the back that's undeveloped yet. Like,
mate, we should be in council. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
You need to do a Yaxley and get out there and try and get in.
Where's that Greater Glenorchy plan? We only need 2 pages, not 100.
Exactly. Just use the things you have, people. Well, they already exist.
Yeah, that's the whole plan for the next 30 years. Use what you got.
Anyway, looks like a good idea. Be interesting to see where it goes.
Hope
Look,
it goes well.
the only reason I wanted to bring up weather in today's show was also that
You need a dot point.
no, well, I thought we'd get to the point where being on the river can be really quite cold, and that might be a deterrent as well. I know it's a enclosed boat ferry, but I thought being on the river could be quite cold, especially this morning. Did you guys clock that photo of the guy walking along Bellerive Beach with the snow up on Mount Wellington?
No, I can imagine. Look,
Amazing. I'll see if I can find it. I'll plug it into the show notes. But essentially it was kind of like, imagine walking along this beach, which is normally, sunny and beautiful, but it was this really moody. So snow fell down to like 400 metres.
It was low.
It was low. And it's so weird. It's the end of winter, but it fell so low because it really...
What was weird was a Monday a week ago, beautiful sunny day wearing a T-shirt, Monday 7 days later and the snow's all the way down the mountain.
Well, even the following day, you were sitting in the office here saying like, geez, I feel like I need my shorts. Like it's so different to yesterday.
well, someone told me the way to dress in Tassie is layers. So, because it's cold. If it was named after a hotel chain, it'd be the Four Seasons because it's just, cold, wet, hot, soggy, and then it goes up one. And then in the later half of the afternoon, you just dress up, take all those layers off and then put them all back on again.
Straight up Scotland, baby.
100%.
Yeah. You were born to be here.
John.
Yeah, you're right. just give me some practical advice.
We all now know how to wear a coat.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
There ain't no fur coat.
Well,
It's an MKH Contracting T-shirt and coat.
sponsored by. Actually, every time we'll announce the weather now. MKH Contracting brought to you by weather.
It is like on the footy where they, you know, like...
Well, yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Hey, this is the first time I've had to do this.
And you didn't even get the merch.
Are you here? Where is this?
Brought to you by the...
Yeah, it's surprising I don't have a paid gig in radio. Right?
You were going somewhere with this story, though, and we've just stolen it from you.
Well, when one of the things I was talking about, there was one of the meteorologists was commenting on the damaging elements of it as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I wanted to go into. Like, I know you've contacted me 2 or 3 times about signs falling over. So it's just one of those really tricky times when a massive cold front like this comes through. Like, we are right at the bottom of the world. So when those roaring 40s come up from Antarctica sort of thing, they can really put a massive, massive impact on homeowners and people who are renting. I know wild weather comes in and you often get phone calls of, this has happened, that's happened.
Yeah, well, we lost a roof on Sunday from the wind, so we had to contact SES to go out and protect the building for us. So, yeah, it gets pretty crazy there at times.
God, I mean, because we've got 800 plus rental properties, and I remember when we had our body's corporate management, we were looking after overseeing about 1,100 different units and complexes. And I remember developing phone anxiety during storms because I knew that the second, that it was going to be kicking, my phone would be ringing hot like all night.
When it's kicking, the phone will be ringing.
Yeah, exactly. And just for all the wrong reasons, I'm like, oh no.
Well, yeah, but the crazy thing in that situation is you're sitting there and you're getting the anxiety of, oh crap, my phone's going to ring. But you got to think of the person on the other end of the phone. They're sitting there thinking, oh crap, my house is going to blow away, or the roof's going to come off, or this tree's going to fall on me. So it is anxiety inducing with all of this stuff. So it's just another layer of property management and looking after tenants and vendors.
The hard thing is there's not a lot we can do when the storm's actually happening.
no.
Because
No.
you can't send a trade up under the roof in a storm. It's
No, exactly.
It's blowing a gale out there, but can you go get a big giant sheet of tin and carry it up onto the roof to secure that bit of building?
Cheers, old son. Yeah.
And that's really hard because tenants don't understand that. They're like, what do you mean someone can't come and fix my roof? I'm like, well, I can't put someone else's safety at danger because a bit of the roof has come off.
Yeah, you just got to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll have to wait until the storm passes and then we can look at getting a trade out to repair it.
But wasn't that another thing with when we're talking about the report about the most livable cities and the most desirable areas? Wasn't it that case where Tasmania, even though obviously we are going to suffer extremes, but it's on a lesser scale versus many different elements of the world?
Oh,
don't
yeah,
get
like
giant,
The storm here is not as bad as a storm in far north Queensland. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we're
exactly.
cruising it is scary when they're coming through, and it wasn't like detrimental with it. Your sign fell over, and you were just like, oh my god,
my sign fell.
they're not gonna know it's for sale.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it had the sold sticker on, so they don't know the results.
They don't know how well I did.
Quick, get off the road. Well, in the end, it's just another subtle plug for Tassie. Let's face it.
No, look, it's one of those crazy things where the weather can be wild down here, but we also can live in a really safe and hospitable place. So,
Well, which is probably not a bad segue in the idea then of the report that they're wanting to put pressure on the availability of Airbnb properties.
Oh, he wants to he's keen to get this
look,
bloody
let's
real
let him
estate.
get it out there. He doesn't want to talk about Kingston. We'll
wants to
talk
go
about Kingston
straight to
next
the-
week.
I don't know.
Airbnb.
It seemed like a better segue than a pool, all right? I'm just putting it out there. Like,
Mate, just because you're Scottish, you don't like swimming.
All right, what do you got about Airbnb, John?
well, this is where from a report that the university had released where they're making some recommendations on controlling the Airbnb market. And then through that proposal, with that research, they're proposing some series of changes to be made. So that's going to hopefully have an adverse effect or affect the Airbnb market, with the idea, hoping that it's going to free up some stock for the general rental area.
Sure.
But one of the things I thought because I ended up having a little bit of a deep dive into the report itself, because
That's why he wants to talk about it, because he actually read up
That's
this
right.
info.
well, I read the summary, and I'm probably going to probably forget the core points.
So it was a 500-page report and you read the paragraph at the top.
Correct. These guys have been doing an enormous amount of research, and I just sit there and pretend like I'm the expert for 5 minutes.
It's like me when I'm wanting to buy a new product and I go to review the product and I scroll past 5 pages of info to get to the summry.
Yeah, the summary
Buy or
with
not. Yes,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Cool.
All right, John, hit us with everything you know about this.
Oh, Jesus. I was hoping you guys could look at the show notes as well.
Oh, we wanted to talk about a Kingston pool when
Yeah.
you brought this up.
Fair point. Dug myself a hole there. Not a pool, but they had
Nice. Nice
well,
one.
it said that there's about 7,000. So the Hobart LGA, so the local government authority, they've got there's about 7,000 rental properties, and of that, about 6% has been lost to the Airbnb market, which was about like full property where it once might have been a rental property, but now the whole house is used exclusively for Airbnb, not partially let, as in the owner's still living there and rents out the room from time to time, the whole house. So that was about about 500 or 400 to 600 properties for Hobart. So about 6% of the total rental properties available. And when I suppose what I was curious about this then is that they're saying that they want to put restrictions on Airbnb to try and limit that market. But what they're really talking about is 600 properties in effect. And I might not be doing it justice, but the other thing that report went into is that we are already, Hobart alone's down by like 3,000 homes behind just for both renters and, new buyers.
So the Airbnb market isn't going to fix the problem, is what everyone blames the Airbnb marketplace, but you're saying it's not going to fix the issue.
Yeah, it seems to me that if you're looking at that 80-20 rule, what's going to bring the biggest result is that the idea being that they put constraints around the Airbnb market, hoping that it might free up another 100 properties, is not going to have a real
It's
big
like putting a
effect.
Band-Aid onto a broken leg kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the proposals that they looked to showcase was they wanted to set up a whole new government section dedicated to forecasting the future of housing for the Airbnb market.
Yeah.
That's not exactly right, so forgive me. But then they would say there'd be additional taxes. They would put permits on limiting the amount within specific areas based on and then also having additional planning requirements relating to zoning.
correct me if I'm wrong, but did the Airbnb market in Hobart really take off though because there was a lack of actual hotel rooms available? Like I used to work in the hotel industry, and a big weekend an event was on in town.
Yep.
Every hotel was fully booked out every single day. So that was a clear indication that there wasn't enough houses for the amount of people that were coming down for events.
For sure.
So there's been a huge amount of new hotels built in Hobart recently, and there's still another 2 or 3 to open in the coming
definitely,
years. Like, will that ease pressure on people? Like the Airbnb market exists because there's good money in it at the moment.
Yeah.
But if there's more hotel rooms available
And it's affordable to go to a newer hotel.
then what's the advantage? Like, you're going to go a hotel in the centre of town versus a Airbnb out in the middle of North Hobart.
Yeah.
So would that as well then limits the amount of Airbnbs if there's not as much profit?
Well, I mean, I was in chatting with different clients along the way who have had those properties available, went back into go back into the rental market when it's just, the short-term accommodation doesn't make sense for them financially. It seems to me too, when you think about when I've travelled and there's a group of 6 people, you can stay longer in an area because you can hire a house and use that entire space rather than all of you getting 6 individual rooms, all paying 4 times as much as you have to stay in that area for longer.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. I know where we're talking about a wedding in Townsville start of next year, and rather than kind of be like, let's all book these things, we're thinking, we'll look into a 8-person house.
Yeah.
So I guess, I'm a really bad one to talk about this because I'm all for Airbnb. I think it's great.
Abby and I have used it heaps when we've travelled overseas.
Well, and I think when sorry to interrupt, mate.
No, I understand totally where you're coming from. Yeah, because when there's a bigger group of you, then you can get the cost of the thing down, and it makes perfect sense.
Well, it struck me, and I hope it. I am correct in interpreting the report when it said that in the end it's taken about 6% out of the rental market. So, that's only it's 6%. If Airbnb had taken 50% of available properties out of the rent, you'd be like, this is a problem. There's a real big deal here.
Yeah.
But the idea being that, right, let's just say the regulation in a good sense enables a 20% difference. So that's taken away, and that's freed up maybe 100, 200 properties. That's not even anywhere close to either what the own report says is the biggest issue, which is the lack of available housing.
So it's kind of like, let's just throw some mud at something else and try and get it to stick to that, rather than actually deal with the real problem. Or we don't have an answer for the real problem at the moment, so we'll just keep playing shadow games, pushing it around. Yeah,
and it's just like you could have a whole other government section. You could do all these requirements. In the end, it'd generate more taxes for the people that are using the Airbnb market. And at the same token too, would have like this not even a barely slither of an effect on the actual greater problem.
We've talked about it before. Like, I think that people like to use Airbnb as the excuse why the Hobart rental marketplace is stuffed.
Yeah.
Like, everyone says, it's just that the Airbnb is what's stuffed it over. But at the end of the day, it's lack of development and lack of, future development opportunities.
Yeah. Yep.
Medium density, like being able to build multiple properties on one location, all of those things to help create opportunities for more housing to handle the amount of people coming back. But then the argument is there's too many people here, so then we need more transit opportunities. So there's a huge amount of problems that need to be sort of worked out, and they all compound on each other.
They sure do, and what an amazing show that we've put together where we've covered across all of those issues.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well played to us, and the weather as well.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure
Sponsored by MKH, the weather was.
And people do need to have a swim from occasion, but it's a shame we ran out of time.
He's not going to let us go on about the pool. We're done.
The pool is out.
Have we got time?
No, you've got it.
You've got it.
We're calling it? All right.
That was excellent, boys. Thank you to the crew at MKH Contracting for having a bit of fun with us and throwing us some of their gear. They do really, really good work.
Really good work, yeah.
If they're still awake, Marcus and Kristen, shout out to you guys for being a supporter of the Property Pod and 414 Property Co. Much appreciated. And we will talk to everybody next week on next week's episode of the Property Pod, sponsored by Apple.
The fruit,
yes.
No specific ties to any.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. See ya. You've been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of